You are staring at your phone, and the screen lights up with a name you recognize. It is a friend, or maybe a coworker, or perhaps that person you have been meaning to grab coffee with for 3 months. You see the preview of the message. It is short and harmless. It just asks how you are doing or suggests a time to meet up. It should be the easiest thing in the world to tap the notification and type out a quick yes or no. But you do not do that. Instead, a strange feeling washes over you. It is a mix of exhaustion and resistance. You swipe the notification away, or you flip your phone face down on the table. You tell yourself that you will reply in 5 minutes when you have more mental energy. You say you just need to finish this one task first. But 5 minutes turns into an hour. The hour turns into the evening. Suddenly, it is the next morning, and that unread message is sitting there like a tiny, heavy stone in the pit of your stomach. Now it feels too late to just say a casual hello. Now you need an excuse. You need a reason. The anxiety starts to build, and the longer you wait, the heavier that stone gets. Does this sound familiar? Maybe you are the one doing the ignoring, or maybe you are the one staring at your phone, wondering why your best friend has left you on red for 3 days. It is one of the most common modern behaviors, but it is also one of the most misunderstood. We tend to think people who delay replies are just rude, or lazy, or playing games. But here's the thing. There's a complex psychological landscape hiding behind that silence. It is rarely about not caring. It is almost always about how our brains handle pressure, perfectionism, and the overwhelming noise of the modern world. Let us look at the first type of delayer. We can call this person the perfectionist procrastinator. You might think perfectionism is about keeping a clean house or getting straight A's, but it shows up in our text messages too. For this person, a text message is not just a form of communication, it's a performance. When they receive a message, their brain instantly goes into overdrive. They don't just want to send a reply, they want to send the perfect reply. They want to be funny or insightful or supportive in exactly the right way. Imagine receiving a text from a friend going through a tough time. A normal person might just type, "I'm so sorry, that sucks." But the perfectionist procrastinator freezes. They stare at the blinking cursor. They think, that sounds too generic. They think they need to say something profound to show they really care. So they decide to wait until they're in the right headspace to write a thoughtful paragraph. They put the phone down to think. They mentally draft 3 different versions. But because they've set the bar so high, the task now feels like homework. It feels like a project. And because our brains are wired to avoid difficult tasks, they procrastinate. They care so much about sending the right message that they end up sending no message at all. If you are this type, you probably feel a deep sense of guilt. You are not ignoring them because you don't like them. You're ignoring them because you want to like yourself and your response too much. You are trapped in a loop where your high standards are actually destroying your connection. Then there's a second type, which is perhaps the most relatable in our hyper-connected age. This is the overwhelmed introvert, or the person suffering from social battery depletion. We live in a world where everyone has access to us 24 hours a day. In the past, when you left work or school, you were done. You went home and nobody could reach you unless they physically knocked on your door or called a landline, which you could simply not answer. Today, our pockets vibrate constantly with demands for our attention. For the overwhelmed introvert, every notification feels like a tiny demand. It feels like someone tapping them on the shoulder asking for something. It's not just a hello, it's a request for energy. When this person sees a message pop up, they don't see a friendly hello, they see a task. They see a withdrawal from their emotional bank account. They might be lying on the couch after a long day of work, completely drained. They see the phone light up and their physical reaction is almost painful. They think, I cannot possibly produce another sentence today. I cannot perform being a human anymore. So they delay. They're protecting their peace. They're trying to recharge. The problem is that the sender doesn't see the exhaustion. They just see the silence. They interpret it as rejection. Meanwhile, the overwhelmed introvert is not rejecting the person, they are rejecting the demand. They are rejecting the obligation to be always on. If this is you, you probably find yourself replying in bursts. You might go ghost for 3 days and then suddenly reply to 10 people in 30 minutes when you finally have a surge of social energy. You are not a bad friend. You are just a human being trying to survive in a digital environment that our brains were not designed for. We were not evolved to maintain constant contact with hundreds of people at once. The delay is your brain's way of putting up a do not disturb sign because you simply have nothing left to give. Now we move to a trickier and more subconscious type. This is the phantom replier. This happens to people who live very much inside their own heads. You see the text, you read it, in your mind you formulate a perfectly good response. You think, okay, I will tell them yes, let's meet at 7. You hear the sentence in your head so clearly that your brain tricks itself into thinking you actually sent it. You have mentally closed the loop. You put the phone away and go about your day feeling satisfied that you have handled the communication. 3 days later, you get a follow-up text with a question mark. You look at your phone in shock. You could have sworn you replied. You stare at the empty chat bubble and realize that the conversation only happened in your imagination. This happens often to people who are daydreamers or who have attention deficits. The boundary between thought and action is a little blurry. The dopamine hit of solving the problem happened when you thought of the reply, so the motivation to physically type it out evaporated. It's not malice and it's not even fear, it's just a glitch in the system. You feel terrible when you realize it, but to the other person, it looks exactly the same as being ignored. It's a disconnect between your internal reality, which is responsive and engaged, and your external reality, which looks silent and distant. Finally, we have to address a type that is a bit more about control. Let's call this the subconscious power player. This isn't necessarily someone who is manipulative on purpose, but the behavior serves a function of maintaining control. In every interaction, there's a dynamic. When you reply instantly to someone, you are signaling that you are available, that you are eager, and that they have access to your attention. For some people, this feels vulnerable. It feels like giving away too much power. So they wait. They might see the text and think, I won't reply yet. I don't want to look too desperate. Or I don't want them to think I'm just sitting by my phone. This is often tied to insecure attachment styles. They are trying to regulate their self-worth by managing the flow of the conversation. If they make you wait, they are the one in control of the timeline. They are the protagonist. It's a defense mechanism. By delaying, they create a buffer zone where they are safe and independent. If they reply instantly, they merge with the other person's needs. If they wait, they exist on their own terms. It's a way of saying, I'm important and my time is valuable. Even if they are just sitting at home watching television, the act of delaying gives them a fleeting sense of autonomy. It's protecting the ego by keeping the world at arm's length. So, where does this leave us? If you recognize yourself in the perfectionist or the overwhelmed introvert or the anxiety avoider, you are likely dealing with a lot of unnecessary guilt. You walk around with a mental backpack full of unreplied messages, and it weighs you down. You think it makes you a bad person, but realizing the psychology behind it is the first step to breaking the cycle. You have to realize that a text message is not a tiger. It's not a test of your worth. It's just data. The people who love you and know you likely understand your patterns more than you think, but they also fill in the blanks with their own insecurities. When you don't reply, their brain tells them a story too. It tells them that you're annoying or that you don't care. The solution is often to lower the bar. Give yourself permission to send the B- reply. Give yourself permission to be boring. A quick, I'm so swamped, but I hear you, is 1,000 times better than the perfect paragraph sent 3 weeks too late. It's about closing the open loops in your brain so you can stop leaking energy. And if you are the one sitting there staring at a delivered status that hasn't changed to read, try not to take it personally. It is rarely about you. The person on the other end is likely fighting their own battle with perfectionism or exhaustion or anxiety. They are probably looking at your name on their screen right now and feeling a pang of guilt, but feeling too paralyzed to fix it. We are all just trying to navigate this strange new world where our brains are tethered to thousands of other brains through invisible wires. It's messy and it's exhausting. So maybe today is the day you go to that one message you have been dreading, the one that's 3 days old. Just open it. Type the messy, imperfect truth. Say, I'm so sorry. My brain has been offline, but I'm back now. Hit send. Watch the stone lift off your chest. You might be surprised at how understanding people can be when you just let them in on the secret. After all, they are probably staring at 5 unread messages of their own, wondering how to fix it too.